Week after week after week, you really have to believe, you're not doing Shakespeare every week.
What was your favorite episode? What was the thing that you thought was the most fun thing that you had to do on the show?
Well, we always love to do the characters, but I always love to try to play Ginger.
There was one where you switched roles, right?
Yes.
And why was that fun?
Just trying to imitate each other. You do one series after another, 7 or 8 hours every day. You kind of want to, I don't know, just do something a little different. I actually went back to stage, is what I like the most. I like touring with a play, and I like it. It's different every single night and all of that. So.
Right. What's been your favorite touring show that you've done?
They're playing our song.
They're playing our song?
Yeah. They kicked me out of choir in church because I couldn't carry a tune. But I rehearsed and toured the country doing a musical, which I love. And of course, all Neil Simon stuff. Comedy, I like the most.
Right. Did you get a lot of fan mail when you were doing Gilligan's Island? Did you receive mail from people who are either complimenting you, coaching you? Just give me an idea of what it was like.
Well, they're fans, and they watch it at a regular time every week, so you become sort of their family. And if they really take a liking to you, you really do become part of their family. If you're guest starring in something, you're playing a character. But Mary Ann was loved all over the country. I was proposed to at least 2 or 3 times a month. I never said yes. What a mistake that was. No, I mean, you're a young 12 or 13-year-old boy, and Mary Ann would have been your crush. She'd have been your next door neighbor or played baseball with you or something. Ginger would have been, she was the sexy kind of role model for the glamour girl. The casting was wonderful, actually.
Did you have, as the show went on and you did 98 episodes, did your role evolve, or did you make some input to the writers about how you wanted to grow as a character or change?
I don't think so. I think the writers knew where the show was going. Kind of don't break that mold. Oh, I got to dream and think I was Ginger for one episode and that kind of stuff. But I think it's important who they cast you with. That's what the audience craves. And the Ginger they craved and the Mary Ann they craved. Mary Ann was a really fabulous role model. She was cute and she was perky, but she was helpful. She was never rude. And you're raising a 10 or 11-year-old little girl. That makes a difference. I don't know what they're kind of doing today because I don't have children that age. But it's a little harder, I think, to raise a kid. Yeah. There was no cursing going on, or the neckline wasn't too low, or there wasn't romance. It was buddies and friends and trying to survive on a beautiful island. It was, well, we were on the air for 3 years and we never went out of the top 10.
Right. Did you you also switched from black and white to color? When you started, your show was in black and white, right?
Yeah.
Did you like to switch to color, or did you wish you sort of stayed in black and white?
Well, it's kind of fun watching it in black and white because it's like old times. But when the color came in, it was more fun, I think. Especially in an island with the beautiful flowers and the palm trees and everything. It was pretty. It was kind of the first sitcom out of the living room. You were always with, I don't know.
My Three Sons.
My Three Sons and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was pretty clothes on Ginger and beautiful flowers on the trees. It was pretty.
Yeah. And do you watch any sitcoms today? And if so, is there a favorite that you have?
I love 2.5 Men. I do. Don't you? Yes, you do. I mean, it's so now, I guess. And the talent is excellent. And I think there's a lot of good stuff. I do a lot of stage, and when you're working and you're in theater, you don't get to see much because all the nights are taken. I like comedy. Also, I like a good mystery. We got a lot of stuff that's pretty good in this country.
Yes. And how about Tina Louise, who played Ginger? Do you stay in touch with her?
No. She doesn't stay in touch with us.
Okay.
I think Tina really would sing and dance on Broadway, and I really don't think she was as happy with the show as she should have been, because she was a fabulous Ginger.
Right.
And we all got along, but she wasn't necessarily as close as all of us were.
Well, when the show ran its course, were you sort of happy to move on to other things, or did you miss being Mary Ann?
Well, you always miss being Mary Ann, but when you're playing Mary Ann, you want to play the bad girl or the mean one or something. You just want to challenge your branch of where you think you belong. And you don't belong. I mean, when you're doing a series, and you like the series, you pick one of the actors that you really kind of like, and they're your family. We were for 5 years. I was your family in your living room, and I think that's the key to television: is finding somebody that you all want to be home with.
Right, and after your success in television, you really wanted to go back to the stage. Was the stage really your first love as far as
Oh
acting?
yes.
Why?
Well,
What is it about stage acting that's better?
Well, because it's now. You know, if you're doing a series and you're playing one episode and something went wrong, okay, take two, let's do it this way, or let's add another cast member. But when you're doing a play and it's 7 of you out there, day after day after day, there's a challenge in keeping it fresh and watching yourself grow. I mean, you always want to play the other character. I always wanted to play the bad girl. Nobody ever cast me as the bad girl until I got to be 40, and then I was only the bad girl. I mean, I think that's, when you're an audience out there watching, you kind of become part of the family of the show that you're watching, and you kind of identify. Charlie Sheen is a perfect example, I think, with that.
Right. And so beyond acting, you also have a very full life. You have a lot of eclectic interests, like, for example, fly fishing. How did you get involved in fly fishing?
My dad was a fly fisherman. I grew up in Nevada. There's not a whole lot of water there. There's Lake Mead out of Las Vegas and rivers. But my dad taught me how to do a dry fly, and we had a house up in Montana and Wyoming, and he could cast the line clear the other side of the stage and never even ripple the water so that it wouldn't scare all the fish away. It took me a long time to learn, but I really love it.
And you've also, I understand, you're a painter,
Yeah.
you're a skater, and you're a cook.
I'm a pretty good cook. Both my grandmothers were wonderful cooks. I'm a pretty good cook. English and Italian food.
So if you were on a desert island, what meal would you like to eat?
Well, you can't cook sand.
Let's say you could
Or maybe you do once in a while.
Let's say you could fly in a meal from someplace. Delivery dudes would deliver to uncharted desert isles. What would you
Well, I go out and catch my own fish
Okay.
and broil it over or whatever. I eat a lot of unusual food. When you travel, you want to taste what they eat in Tokyo or
Right,
whatever.
right.
Yeah. I'm a good cook and not really odd tastes. My mother's a phenomenal cook, and both my grandmothers were too, so I'm very proud of that.
And you are, being that we're at a Boomer Life Expo here, and it's all about aging with style and grace. Do you have any tips for any of the people out here how they can age with style and grace, as you obviously have yourself?
Oh, that's very kind of you, but I was going to ask you what the questions are. How do we do that? Don't we ask ourselves that question every day? I mean, how do you age? If you're healthy, forget everything else. If you're healthy, then it's up to you. You can't help what's happening to you, but we're all going to get old and we all are infirm in some way. But there's a lot you've digested in your life. There's a lot of things that you've gone through that you didn't think you'd ever get through. There's people that you now like that you didn't like before. You're not really looking at the end. You're kind of relying on what you've experienced already and what have you learned already. I happen to have been an only child. I'd love to have been 5 or 6 brothers and sisters and how you get along with boys by the time you're 16. But I think as you grow, if you could open your heart and be productive, there's still a lot to do, a lot to be, a lot to learn. And I'm not through by any means.
All right, I think we'll leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a nice warm round of applause for Dawn Wells?
Thank
She
you.
will be